The Truck Series and the Cup Series all head to Thunder Valley this weekend. We get you ready from a betting perspective next on the NASCAR Betting Preview Show. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the NASCAR Betting Preview Show. See so many people filing in already. Really looking forward to tonight. Bringing back a few things. You'll see some changes over here on the outline. We're going to make sure things are highlighted so you can see what topics we're talking about. So many people coming in now on YouTube. Let us know where you're at. Thanks for stopping by. Make sure you subscribe to In Between Media. Helps them out. They're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers so we can do a whole bunch of different things here with you guys as we do the show each and every week. We're streaming live right now on X, on my at Derek Yoder _ and the NASCAR Betting Preview Show at NASCAR BPS. So make sure you're following along, watching there as well. And if you're going to join us from the listener segment later on, which we're bringing back, which was a popular demand, and we were trying to figure out ways to do it. The only way to do it is through here. I'll send out a link about 8:40, 40 minutes into the show or so, and we'll get your comments and questions if there are any. So let's do this as we get ready to go into Bristol. I want to welcome on the panel. If this is your first time, we got a couple guys here tonight, and I'm really excited to talk with. So Phil, the Full Tank with Phil podcast. Phil, how are you doing, and how are you feeling going into Bristol?
I'm feeling pretty good. You know, the West Coast Swing treated us well on the podcast with the cards that we had out there, and feeling like we have some money to burn. Looking at the board, need to find my way through. We put the podcast out earlier and kind of talked through some bets. So I think now, after being able to do that, I feel better, and I'm excited to talk a lot about that stuff with you guys here tonight and everybody in the comment section. So I'm really excited.
So Phil dropped his podcast here this afternoon, and I haven't got to listen to it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. So make sure you go and download the Full Tank with Phil podcast wherever you get your podcast. Next, going to welcome on our guy, Ryan Stevens, CEO, creator of Truth Performance Ranks, wintherace.info. Ryan, it was a great weekend for you and your subscribers. How has everything been for you so far midweek heading into Bristol?
Oh, it's going great. I mean, coming off a week like that, Greg crushed it. My betting card crushed. I mean, we were up, I think I was up over 17 units, Greg up over 12 or 13. It was just pretty massive. It was cool too to be on the show last week, and you said, what's the headline going to read Monday morning? And I said, Christopher Bell finally wins at Phoenix. And it's just cool that it came true. So, and plus all the other Christopher Bell bets we had. So that was fun. Ready to get into Bristol. I think we have a completely different type of race this week. I mean, last week I thought was very predictable. This week, I think the exact opposite. So I can't wait to hear what all three of you have to say. So I think we're all going to be on a couple different things, so it'll be fun to talk through it.
That's what makes this show so much fun, is everybody gets to say what their opinions are and what their process is. Seeing so many people file in from different states, welcome. If this is your first time, thank you for joining us. Next guy and our guest this evening, a recurring guest of the show if you listened last year, but Jim Sonis. So Jim is the managing editor of digital media at FanDuel Research. Jim, I know you do so much in the community. You do so much when it comes to betting for all types of sports, but when it comes to NASCAR, how has the year been for you?
Mixed. We were talking before the show, and Cup's been fine, especially the past 2 weeks. I don't tend to do great on super speedways, so that wasn't my favorite way to start the year, despite the fact that races were fun. But Xfinity's been bad. So I am grateful for an off week, ready to run it back at Coda next week. But it's been just dumb stuff happening at the end of races. So I am so thankful to have 1 week without Xfinity to make me just frustrated on a Saturday.
Well, it is. I think it's going to get better. Like you said, good to have a week off, reset, get back into it. Like I said, I mean, you're doing stuff for all sorts of sports, so it's never a dull moment for you. So glad to have you back on the show, and looking forward to diving into some things you're going to have to say tonight. So let's do this. Let's go into rapid fires. You see it light up on the left-hand side there, which is kind of cool. So I'm going to ask these guys a couple questions. We're going to go through it, and then we're going to dive into some of these markets that you all are talking about. So when it comes to rapid fire, Phil, I'm going to start with you first. Better finish on Sunday, John Hunter Nemechek or Carson Hocevar?
Oh, man.
Coming out of the gates.
So I did some research on Nemechek for a head-to-head that we talked about on the podcast, but I think so it was a different driver. I think I would go with Hocevar. You know, he does have some experience here. I think he finished like 11th or something last year. So, and you know, we know that he's pretty solid in the trucks, apples to oranges, but still, I think that he's got some stuff that he could build off of. I also think that his equipment might be a little bit better. And, you know, Nemechek, I like him to win that one matchup that I won't name his competitor, but you know, Hocevar, I think, is actually going to be, if you look at where he's matched up with some people, like he's matched up with a couple guys who are better competition. So I think the books have him a little bit better as well. So I'll go with Hocevar.
Well, I brought up that name because Hocevar was in the 42 car last year at this track. Now John Hunter Nemechek. So I just wanted to gauge your opinions there. Ryan, I'm going to turn to you next. We've had 4 different winners in 4 weeks now. Will we see a 5th different winner on Sunday?
Yes. And we'll talk more about that later.
That's great. That's good. That's what I was hoping to hear. All right. So Jim, I'm going to go to you. Best stat you came across when researching this weekend's race?
Oh boy. It has been
usually that one nugget.
530 something days since Chase Elliott's last win. It is going to get to about 536 on Sunday and then end there.
Okay, so there you go. I like that. Good stats right there. Good numbers. All right, I'm going to go back to you, Phil. We've had 3 drivers finish top 5 here since 2022. Now, this is just on concrete in the Gen 7 era. Can you name all 5? Or can you name all 3?
Wait, can you restate the problem here for me, Alex?
I can, yes.
Okay.
You didn't understand it the first time?
I didn't.
Gibberish.
You hit me with
3
a little...
drivers. All right. 3 drivers have finished top 5 on concrete in the Gen 7 era at Bristol since 2022. Can you name them?
Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, and I don't know. I don't know.
Larson, Bell.
Oh, C. Bell.
Larson and Bell.
Was I wrong with Hamlin?
And I don't think so. No, I actually just lost my notes. To be honest, I just lost my notes from where it was. So
it's whose line is it anyway. The points don't matter.
It is. I just lost it. I just hit delete. All right, Ryan, I'm going to go to you. Biggest lesson you've learned this betting season thus far?
Well, I mean, it's a continual lesson that I try to teach myself to just be patient. So I thought I would be this week too. I'm in for like 3 units already, but still, I be patient, wait for the speed. I think especially on weeks like last week where it's more predictable once you see the speed and they have like a long practice like that. I know we don't typically do that, but on a track where you think you can really dial in on the speed and then maybe hit some numbers afterwards, we did really well placing some bets after practice last week. So be patient, I guess.
Was the 50 minutes, so we got extra time, obviously, last week, having the practice and having all the cars together. Did that help you or hurt you?
I thought it helped. Our practice model had Chris Bell, like Martin Truex links ahead with New Hampshire. So it was like that type of gap. So we loved Bell. I mean, I already had him bet 12-1 early in the week, but then, play some other things after and, we did well. So
I asked that question because I see a lot of chatter on Twitter. Hey, I have an edge whenever we have the 2 groups, and that's where people want to stay. I personally like the 1 group. Like, give me the 15-minute practice session. Everybody don't have to worry about Group A had a better tire situation than Group B. So I just kind of wanted to get your opinion there. Jim, I'm going to throw the next one to you. Your thoughts on RFK heading into this weekend?
Annoying because the start of the race is so bad, but then they gradually get better. So do I judge them based on the first half of the race or the second half? And because I tend to like RFK drivers, especially on tracks that race like Bristol, I'm inclined to trust them. I'm not seeing value on them this week, but I would say annoyed is my feelings on RFK so far.
What's your closest comp track when you're looking at Bristol?
It's a blend because there really is no like comp. I put a lot of weight in concrete. I want Nashville in there. I want Dover in there. Nashville's a very different track than Bristol, but like you hear a lot about the way concrete races where the optimal groove changes, which is why you see a lot of dirt guys, you know, like a lot of dirt guys run well at Dover and Bristol and stuff like that. So I have Darlington in there, Richmond, a lot of weird tracks, but like if you put them all in a blender, it hopefully gets you to the right place.
That was a great answer when before the show we tell you there's no wrong answers here, and then he gives you a question that has no answer. But that was
you say all fat guys just throw things in a blender and it's going to shoot out what you want. So you were saying all these tracks then. How about this, Phil? I'm going to go to you next here. From a truck series perspective, who's a driver you're eyeing going into Saturday?
So yeah, I told these guys before I haven't gotten too deep into the truck stuff yet, but I want to look. I don't think Enfinger is at a good price, but his stats here are kick ass. So he's 12-1. I think he should be longer than that for his equipment. But I'm probably going to look at, I mean, obviously KFB is in the race, so that throws things off, but Majeski, I think Majeski's numbers on, you know, any sort of comp track last year have been really good. And his mild experience he's got a win 2 years ago at this track. So he can get it done and has proven that. So I'm still on that Majeski train, and I can't get off until he wins.
Well, I don't hate that. Truck Series podcast will drop Friday morning. Everybody listening on the NASCAR Betting Preview Show podcast, Phil and I will have you covered from a betting perspective there. I'm actually going to run it back here to Ryan and say, better finish on Sunday, McDowell or Priest? Which side you going there?
Ooh, I have a bet on Priest. I think we'll talk about.
That's fine.
I'm going to say, I'll say Ryan Priest. I think this is one of Ryan Priest's best tracks, all things considered. Even back in Xfinity, his last Xfinity race here, he beat guys like that field was loaded. Had Bell, Chastain, Reddick, ton of Cup guys in that field, and he won. So I just think this is, look at his Cup results too. It's a lot of top 15-ish type finishes. Yeah, I don't know. I like Priest, so I'll pick Priest this week. And I think McDowell, you know, especially last week, just get a little lucky on his finishes here. I don't know if that will continue.
I think we might be want to look. You might want to look at that new package that they're under. That 34 car is. I mean, he impressed me last week. I didn't think he was going to.
Oh, it's not going to be. Yeah, Priest is not the popular answer at all. I understand that.
No, it's not. But that's why I was trying to milk it a little bit. Maybe we could do a personal side bet. You know, my kids need food, diapers, etc. You know, everything. So
yeah,
all right.
We'll text after.
Yeah, we will. Phil, actually, I'm going to go to you. Then Jim, I'm going to finish with yours. Phil, manufacturer to win this weekend. It's going to be a tease, obviously, for what you're going to probably be looking at from an outright perspective. But who's the manufacturer going to victory lane on Sunday?
Toyota.
Okay, Toyota's. Good tease there. And Jim, for you, last question. Monday morning headline reads what?
Something I alluded to earlier. Chase Elliott's back. The slump is over. I think we're going to finally see it happen. He used to dominate on concrete and been looking a bit better. Qualified well in Phoenix. Thought he showed some pace there. Was good in Martinsville last year, which is not in any way similar to Bristol. But like, I think he's getting back there. I think the confidence is slowly coming back for Chase. So Monday headline: Chase Elliott is back.
Okay, well, that would definitely be a storyline going into COTA next week, where a lot of people are already putting, him to be in victory lane there. So let's do this. Let's move to Ride or Fade. This is the head-to-head portion of this segment or the show. I'm going to ask the guys what's their favorite head-to-head, and then give an opportunity to Jim and Ryan and Phil to say, are they riding that or are they fading that heading into the weekend? So Phil, get us kicked off. What is the head-to-head you found on the board that is your favorite right now?
Took me a while to find one, but I ended up landing on Caesars. It was William Byron over Ryan Blaney. And this was really, like, I understand Blaney's been good and we've won money on Blaney, but looking at these and in my stats that I'm ripping off here, I haven't had a chance to like really get into them. But they've been pretty equal. If you look at their resume at Bristol, just like top 5s, top 10s, etc. But it starts to separate when we go to just the last 2 at Bristol, last 2 at Dover. I know that there were some other tracks thrown in there from some guys in the chat and Jim here, but I'm looking at that. And Blaney has one good finish in the next gen era at those 2 tracks, and the others have been dismal. So obviously Byron 3-1 head to head there. And then when we're just looking at like green flag speed, that's all you really need to know, I think, for this bet, because Blaney just has not been fast at Bristol. Whereas he's 28th in green flag speed. He's right around Ty Dillon. Whereas Byron, he's in the top 10. He's like 6th. He's fighting for top 5s. He's been really good. He's got a 9th and a 3rd place finish, last 2 finishes at Bristol. So where he's fighting for like top 10, top 5, maybe even the win. I don't see that with Blaney. I don't see that with Penske in general at this track. So I'm going with Byron.
Okay, so you're going to go Byron over Blaney. Ryan, I'm going to give you the first floor here. You riding or fading what Phil just said?
Yeah, I would stick with Byron. I wouldn't feel good about it. Not one that I think I'm going to bet, but if I got to ride or fade, I'll ride with Phil.
You do. Yeah, you don't have a choice. You have to pick one of those 2. Jim, how about you? Riding or fading with what Phil put down there?
I bet Blaney at 16 when he was there on Monday, so I got to go Blaney. I have Byron rated above Blaney in my model, so if I were to hedge into that, but I bet Blaney, so I need Blaney to win for financial reasons.
That makes sense then. Phil, it's interesting that you called out some of their statistics where you said about Blaney's kind of running back with some of those lower tier guys. Why is that exactly? Do you know? Was it just bad qualifying? Was it just they've been missing something when it comes to the concrete portion, or what? Were you able to find something there? Because my mind goes Blaney just through recent momentum. I mean, he's the only driver that made it to the Final Four last year that hasn't won yet, but he's our points leader. So what was it maybe that made you go from one way to the other there?
Yeah, well, we saw Greg call out, he got wrecked in the 2022 race, which, could explain some things there. But I've been digging into some of the practice times. I mean, I don't know this specifically, but looking at what I could, and Blaney wasn't showing up in practice from the races that I was looking at that was referring to earlier. So as someone I feel like this is a very, you could say this every week, but the guys who have practiced well in the next gen era here have done really well in the race. Like it's a 2 + 2 = 4. I get it, but it's pretty. Some tracks that's not necessarily the case as much as it has been, is from what I saw in the last couple races. So that could be it, but slow speed, green flag speed could be because you got wrecked and you couldn't really get around the track after that. But
I'm gonna ride with you. I was that's why I was asking that. So Jim, you're gonna be the only one, but you said for financial reasons, so we get that. Ryan, I'm gonna throw it over to you then. What's the head-to-head that you found on the board that you're like, this is my favorite play right now at its current price? Or what's your favorite?
I'm just going to be Mr. Unpopular tonight because I'm going to take Austin Dillon -110 over LaJoie. So I have a couple reasons. One, I just think that, like I said earlier, this track is a completely different beast. So I like someone that's been consistent here over their career. And this is one of Austin Dillon's better tracks, if not, one of his best. So, he's raced here 15 or 16 times. He's finished, 90% of the races. Or no, he's raced here 18 times. He's finished 90% of them. He's finished 16 of them. 11 of those have been top 15s. Whatever it is about spring Bristol races too. I mean, he's finished 6, 14, 15, 13, 10, 11. He's got good finishes in the spring. LaJoie, he has one career top 20 at Bristol. It is with Spire. But even like the last race, he needed strategy to get up front, led a couple laps or 40 laps-ish or whatever, but he still couldn't finish top 20 in that race. I think his only path is to use strategy, where I think Austin Dillon could legit top 15 like he has for so long. So I'm going to take the consistency here. I think he was a dog too, -1, like one of those -110 versus -121. So I'll take the -110 side of Austin Dillon and just take the consistency. So that's what I'm on.
Yeah. Dillon has just had the worst year possible, and LaJoie, after his bad break last week. So when you look at it, it's kind of like, oh, it's kind of want to bite your tongue a little bit. But Jim, what about you? You riding or fading the Dylan side there? What Ryan was saying.
Yeah, I'll pretty happily ride with that. Definitely on board. I agree with the thoughts on LaJoy. I think that I'm okay being high on Carson Hocevar this week, but that's more so because of Hocevar, the driver, versus Spire as a team. Spire's been great, but I need to see a bit more from LaJoy at like tracks that are somewhat similar before I am willing to bet him over Dylan. So I'll take Dylan there.
Okay. How about you, Phil?
Well, I'll be the odd man out. I had talked about this one. And I wanted Dylan. Like I said to you guys on the group chat today, like I wanted Dylan because, the last 7 races, the last 5 years, essentially, on the concrete here, he's 5 for 7 top 20s. And to me, that's like huge when we're talking about head to heads with these back markers. Cause if we can finish top 20, you could probably, beat out the guy you're racing. But I was, kind of thrown off because as we're looking at the recent numbers, like Ryan laid out his history, and that's why I like Dylan. But recently he has not been that great here. And sometimes finishes don't say it all, but he's 1-1 head to head at Bristol and Next Gen, and green flag speed, LaJoy has him beat. If you loop in Dover, it's 3-1 head to head in favor of LaJoy. Like, this is all shit that like I was like, no, like I don't want this, but I had to go with it. So I was steered in that direction because of recent results. And then if you want to go real recent, holy shit, like, Austin Dillon, he can't hit the broadside of a barn. It's wild.
Yeah, that's tough because I was on the Dylan side as well. And I just think when you look at tracks, I really like looking at Dylan when it comes to tracks like Martinsville, Bristol as well. Obviously, super speedways. We can talk about that later. It looks like the general public, if you look at anybody that's saying anything in the chat right now, it's Dylan by a billion. And so I'm actually going to roll with you, Phil, just because that team is a little bit better right now. I really feel like there's something going on with RCR, ECR engines, and I'm even on Kyle Busch this week. So like I'm still talking out two sides of my mouth when it comes to the RCR a little bit. But LaJoy, the Spire, I kind of have to give an edge. There's just something that is plaguing that 3 car so bad. I don't want to touch it. So Jim, I'm going to throw it over to you. Favorite head-to-head that you found on the board right now?
So it's a cheating one, but I think it's a good like betting principle because it's what's called a no hold market where you can bet both sides and profit, which is not something we get very often. We're getting it here because there were a lot of very smart people who bet Carson Hocevar over Josh Berry, and they moved that number a lot. So if you look at BetMGM right now, Hocevar is minus 185 and Josh Berry is plus 140. If you look at FanDuel right now, Hocevar is minus 130. So if you take the Hocevar minus 130 and Josh Berry plus 140, you could hypothetically, depending on how you scale things, bet both sides and profit. Yeah. Typically, what you want to do with a no-hold market, rather than betting both sides, where you kind of cap your upside, it's better to pick a side that you like more. So if you think that Hocevar or Josh Berry at plus 140 is a better side, take that. If you think that Hocevar at minus 130 is a better side, take that. I would probably go towards the Berry plus 140 because that's a pretty generous number at a volatile track on a younger driver who, and when you're projecting like incident rates, I project a higher incident rate for younger drivers. I'm going to project a higher incident rate for Carson Hocevar. So I would go towards Berry plus 140 between those two. But like, especially with how many books are offering very similar matchups nowadays, I would always be on the lookout for no hold markets where you can bet both sides and spin a profit depending on how you scale things.
That is, I like that answer a lot. I really do. Phil, I'm actually going to throw it to Ryan first. Ryan, which side are you? I mean, obviously great strategy. Which side are you leaning with those two? Barry, Hocevar?
I think, real quick to add on to that too. Like, I would probably take the plus 140 side as well. A good example that I ran into last night. I was just looking at some things. I actually texted this to Wormy. I was just looking like how volatile is the track really, and I just took JGR because JGR had 2 cars that are 5-1 to win the race, and if you look at the average finish of all the cars they've raced of active tracks, it's 28 tracks JGR's ran. Their average finish at these tracks, I'll just name 3 of them. Talladega's 26 out of 28. Daytona's dead last at 28 out of 28. Bristol's 24 out of 28.
Okay.
So it's right there with the drafting tracks as far as volatility and, the variance that you need to account for. So to me, Barry and Hocevar have similar equipment. So I would take the plus 140 and just hope you're on the right side of the variance.
What about you, Phil?
Agreed. I mean, to me, this is a toss up because I feel like Barry is, like somebody said it in the chat, like it's his breakout race. And I don't know if I believe that, but you gotta feel like Stuart Haas made the choice to take over a varsity vehicle in the 4 for a reason. And, Hocevar is just getting his wings under him. So I'll take the plus money there, and considering it an even matchup in my eyes.
Well, shout out Richard West on the chat, who said that this is going to be Josh Berry's coming out party. And Worm says, Hocevar beats Berry. Do with that what you want with that information there. Let's do this. Let's move on to the next topic. Let's go to the position props now. And Ryan, I'm going to start with you. When it comes to the finishing position market, those props, what have you found? What do you like?
I guess you have Priest's live, so you can still get this at 650. And Jim, I know I don't mean to step on your toes here. I saw you wrote this up as well, but the Ryan Priest top 10 was plus 750 earlier, so I took that on FanDuel. It's down to 650 now. I'd still take it. Our simulations have around 5-1 is fair.
Okay.
So I like this, and we talked about it a little bit earlier. He does have one top 10 in his 6 tries here, which does come out to be about 5-1, which we have coincidentally as fair. But 3 of those races he's finished top 15. He's been so close some other times. And then we talked about his last Xfinity race here. I actually think like this is another unpopular position, I think, but I think Ryan Priest is pretty talented. So on the right track, in the right place. And I think this is one of those places where he can excel. So, take it for what you will. I like Ryan Priest this week. And the number at 750 that was stupid. And I still think 650 should be taken.
So I guess Jim is that where you were going to go?
Yeah, it is, but I think it's a good bet, even at 650.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit higher on Priest. You said 5-1 is fair. I've got 4-1. I hate it. I hate that so much because I've wound up betting Priest a lot at super speedways, at road courses, and it never works out. So he's like the Almirola of the Cup Series, whereas Almirola, I just know this year will be a guy I bet every Xfinity Series race, and I'll just hate myself every single week. Priest is that guy in Cup. I'm a 19.9% for a top 10. So even at plus 650, fair value there. It's the same thing I talked about. I want guys who are good on concrete. His statement win was at Nashville in the Truck Series when he was in that off year when he was the SHR reserve driver. Won that race. He was good on concrete all 3 races last year. So I think given the fact that I know equipment doesn't matter as much here, but SHR does seem to be a lot better off overall this year than what they were last year. I think that's encouraging. And we did see it at Vegas, which used the same rules package as what they'll have this weekend. So, I mean, not with Barry specifically, but with the teams, or sorry, with Priest specifically. But I think overall, I think that plus 650 for a top 10 for Priest is a good bet.
I always love hearing what that one driver, 2 drivers that they're like, I'm going to bet this guy and it's going to cost me so much money and I'm going to have so many headaches, but I just keep going back to the well. So Priest is your guy there. What about you, Phil? What have you been able to find?
So I know his name's been thrown around a little bit already tonight in various ways, but I like Elliott for top 10 at plus 100. I was kind of surprised to see you could get him at plus money. I don't know what fair is exactly in that. Maybe Ryan can help us out there, but to me, seeing that was a bit of a surprise. I think we're trying to take advantage here of Chase and the recency bias, maybe from the books a little bit, and him not doing all that well. But just coming off of last week, he finished, close to 20th. And I thought he ran a really good race, average running position, top 10. So we're saying he's back. I think he is starting to get there, and I'm going with incremental success. His last 7 concrete races at Bristol are damn good. I mean, 3rd in average finish. He's got 4 top 10s in 7 starts, 5 top 15s. He's 3rd in driver rating. The next gen Dover and Bristol, he's got a win, 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s. He was 9th in green flag speed last season at this racetrack, at this night race. So the point here that we're getting at is and that was in a season where he was down, right?
Mm-hmm.
He went out, he practiced 7th, finished 7th, I believe. Like he brought it. And I think that with all of that rest of the season behind him now and a little bit of a swell in momentum, I think we could see some good things from Chase. So I'm not as bullish to take him for the dub, but like some of the guys on here, but I think I'll be happy with plus money for a top 10.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said it last week or the week before. Like when Chase Elliott is plus money to score top 10, he's already got the best equipment. Can he get it done? And so I see where you're going with there. So let's move into the outright market. This is a topic presented by Victory Fuel. DrinkVictory.com. Promo code FrontStretch. FRONTSTRETCH. You'll get 10% off your order. So Victory Fuel, thank you very much to them. Jim, I'm going to start with you.
So I talked about Chase, kind of gave that one away. Chase Elliott 20-1 to win this week. I've got him at 5.4% to win at 4.8% implied. So I've covered that already. So we'll just leave that there. Chase Elliott 20-1. My outright, if I were to do an additional one, I'd go to the trucks. William Sawalek is 35-1. You can't bet him in every book because he's not 18 yet. And some books say, hey, we're not going to offer outrights on the guy who's not 18 yet. He's still 17 years old, but he's driving for Tricon, which is really good equipment. And he was awesome last year on really tough tracks. If you were to name off the toughest tracks to run in the truck series, IRP'd be up there, Richmond would be up there, Bristol be up there. He ran all those here in Milwaukee too. That maybe not quite as tough, but he ran tough tracks where tires fall off, and he ran really well. 8th place, average running position in both IRP and Richmond, and finished 6th in IRP. So tough fields. You got Kyle Busch there. You got Eckes is really good on this track type. Hines really good on top of the guys like Majeski that Phil was talking about before. So it's a really tough field, but especially for a 17-year-old. But if I'm not going Chase 20-1, I'll go Sawalek 35-1 on Saturday.
Okay, so William Swallow, I like it. So we're getting a little truck talk going on here. Phil, how about you? I'm going to kick it back to you. Who's going to Victory? You teased the Toyota. Where are we going?
Okay. Yeah, so I guess we're having some fun throwing some longer numbers out there. So I'll do that. I won't be chalky boy tonight. How about 14-1 on Bet Rivers and a couple others for Ty Gibbs?
Oh yeah.
I am impressed with Ty Gibbs. I didn't think we'd be here at this point in the season already, feeling confident that over 0.5 wins would hit, but here we are. And so the two races that we consider good for gamblers, right? Vegas and Phoenix, compared to the super speedways, he's done really well and performed well, not fluky, really good stuff from that team and from him. So I had him down as a top 10 pick, but on this show, for going for some of the longer odds, I think 14-1 this time of the week makes sense. Last year, he came out hot in practice, was 4th fastest. And if he puts himself in good position to start well, and he's got a fast truck, that 14-1, I can't see staying there. So, he was fast in practice, fast in the race, finished top 5. I think it was 5th. In 2022, he had a 35th place finish, but we're kind of overlooking that because it wasn't his full-time ride. And then, I keep mentioning Dover. I mean, he was 13th at Dover for a rookie. So this is a year where I think we're seeing him step up, and I don't have to reach for it. We're seeing it already. So it's there. So, like Worm said, right? 0 mistakes. That's kind of what you need here. And we'll see if they've got the speed to keep him up there and see what he can do. So 14-1 this early in the week. I think that's a fun bet.
Yeah, he's definitely impressed me as well. It's been amazing to see, what we saw at the Clash kind of transfer all the way through the season. Last week, Toyota was good in general. So it was good to see him get a finish. And as a young driver, you have to get those finishes. So Ryan, what about you? I'm going to let you close out this market. Where are we going?
Well, so I have 2 of them. I have one guy that I wrote down a couple things about, but don't really need to say much about him. But I'll tail right off of what Phil was saying. So if I'm going to take a Toyota that starts with Ty, then I'm taking Tyler Reddick all day over Ty Gibbs, because I just think so it's kind of like last year, like William Byron started winning all these races because speed killed. They weren't William Byron tracks per se, but then every track all of a sudden kind of became a William Byron track. I think Tyler Reddick's on that trajectory this year, where now you're looking at any track and you're like, oh shit, this might be a Tyler Reddick week. And I got him 18-1, which is no longer available, but I think there's probably some 14s or 15s floating around there somewhere. I wouldn't mind taking Tyler Reddick at that price. I think this is a track too. You saw like the last time they were here, you could run the top pretty well. He gets to that outside lane and he brings that Toyota speed that he's brought so far this year. I think he's going to be a problem. And then the other guy is, I also got an 18-1 earlier. I think that's gone now, but you can still find this one. I probably wouldn't. This is more just my gut, but I love Kyle Busch early in the season, pulling double duty on a weekend at a track that he has just absolutely been better than everybody at for his career. So this is his place. This is, people can say what they want about the differences between the intermediate and short track package, but this guy's got some crazy splits between the two. He is way faster in the intermediate package. Now he gets to go on a track in a spring Bristol race, which he's just dominated in his past. He's led 10 of those 13 races, won 5 of them. I mean, that's just crazy. So I think it's just like last year, early in the year, some people thought it was a little nutty. I was betting Kyle Busch at Auto Club so early in the year, but this is where I like him. This is my Kyle Busch spot. And if he burns me, fine, but it's 18-1 and I didn't put that much down on it. So I'll say Kyle Busch and Tyler Reddick are my 2 kind of gut plays right now.
Yeah, I like what Reddick's been doing. Jim, I think you were going to have a comment there, it looked like.
Oh, no, I was I looked at Reddick at 18 and didn't bet it in time. Okay. I can't bet it anymore with where it's currently at. It's no longer a value, but like, I know that he hasn't been good here, but like you think about the guys who are good here, it's a lot of guys who are good at tracks where Reddick is good. So I can't bet it where it's currently at, but I also did give pretty long thought to betting him when he was at 18.
Okay. I know you're high on Busch on Saturday for the truck race. We talked about that pre-show. So, no, I know you asked some good questions about that, about what our strategy might be for Kyle. So let's move into the final topic here before we get into our DK features. And then I want to hear from you guys, listeners, and I'm going to be putting out a link here very soon. So be on the lookout on that, and that's going to be on X. I'm going to go to you first, Phil. When it comes to best bet, best value, Mark's favorite words there, your favorite words as well. Where are we going? What'd you find? Or did you find nothing? And maybe, hey, I need to bump this down, to later in the week.
So the word value is what kills me in this segment always.
What's
but
the Webster dictionary?
I'll say, yeah, we should look that up. I don't know how many people would consider this value, but as far as like my favorite, like most happy that I got this bet in is Chris Buescher for a top 10. He's minus 122 on Bet Rivers. He's on DraftKings minus 225. So that's just like such a huge difference. So maybe Webster's definition would that would kind of fall under that. But we were talking earlier, like top 10s at Bristol, right? And he was the guy that I missed, and I can't believe that because all of his success has come like more recently at this racetrack because his career success, not really nothing to really look twice at, but in the next gen era, he's got a win, 2 top 5s. He's 4 for 4 in Bristol and Dover in the last 2 years. That's pretty damn good. And I think what we have seen with him is there, obviously the one that he got the win at, they took a risk, right? They took 2 tires and they were able to stay out there and he was able to hold them back. Last week at Phoenix, they were able to, take a good strategy play and parlay that into a really good finish. But also at Bristol, we've seen him like have good speed and get solid finishes, not necessarily a victory, but like last year he had a good car. So I think I like having a team, a crew chief, and a driver that can play both sides of that coin, because what I've seen over the last few races digging into this, we've seen a lot of long green flag runs to end the race at Bristol, which is kind of confusing because we think of carnage a lot. But we've got a driver who's fast enough to be up there and hold it, or we've got a driver who, if they're not, will take a shot and hold it that way. So top 10, for that -122 number on Bet Rivers, I'll be happy with that.
Yeah, I like the Busher play as well. Ryan, what about you? Where are we going?
We just talked about Reddick. I think you can still find him 6-1 top Toyota on Caesars,
Okay.
which we have kind of barely fair, in our model. But for everything that we just talked about, I think obviously you got to beat Denny and Bell, but I mean he's beating Denny already, and I don't think Bell is going to go back to back. Although it wouldn't surprise me that much, but I don't know. Reddick at 6-1 when there's not that many, I think, competitive Toyotas to beat here. You take Truex out of the situation, I think, going to Bristol, which really helps. So yeah, 6-1 Reddick, I like.
And Gibbs doesn't bother you at all?
No.
Okay. All right. That's fair enough. Jim, I'm going to throw it over to you. What you got?
So at Caesars, you can bet positional props, like over/under positions, and I love those. I have 5 that I like this week. My favorite one, though, is Joey Logano to finish worse than or over 12.5, which means that he finishes worse than that. So 13th or worse in this race. We kind of know Logano's had a weird stretch here for whatever reason. I don't know why. Logano used to be a guy I bet on a lot. He was the previous iteration of like Eric Almirola in Xfinity, where it's like, I've got value on Logano again, but it's a weird situation right now. And so when I put in Logano's recent history at Bristol combined with his current form, I have his median finish at 15.5. Like usually it's not a half, but like it is 15.5 for this week. And his prop here is 12.5. So you don't usually get 3 spots off what they have as that number. So Logano over 12.5 is his finishing position. It's a bummer to bet against a guy who's been very kind to me throughout my betting career. But I think given the way things have gone, given his more recent history at Bristol, some of that's partly influenced by bad luck, but I do think this is the proper side to be on here with Logano.
I was thinking about Logano today, and I was thinking about his championship price, because obviously in the point standings where he's at, what has that number done? What has it shifted? There's some books out there that even offer, to advance into the Final Four.
Yeah,
I don't know if any of those numbers are appetizing enough, because we know this is a team that's just had bad luck going with 2 super speedways back to back, getting into a wreck last week that wasn't his fault because he got, hit in the rear last week at Phoenix, and you just know this team's going to get a win at some point. So he's going to be knocking on the door. I don't know what his numbers are off the top of my head, but that came to mind. You mentioned him, so I was like, well, I'm going to throw that out there to the public as well. So go ahead, Phil.
I just wanted to ask Jim, like, are those over-unders available for you right now? Because I have been waiting for them to drop on Caesars and have not come out.
So if you go to like the are you in like the futures tab or like the auto tab? Click on Food City 500 and then click on the title of the race. That'll bring you to like a new thing, like a new menu, and you click on finish position there, and it's under that tab. It's like super hard to find, and I couldn't find
it. Really
last
hard,
week.
and they don't have them in New York, even when you go to the super secret method either. So yeah.
Okay, yeah. They had them last week and the week before. But, I've been like dying for them to come out because I love that shit. I've been.
I'll DM you a link. I'll just DM you the URL if that helps.
It might not be available in PA. That's what I'm.
That's possible. Yeah.
All right, so we'll transition over to DK features real quick, and we'll just make this quick because I want to get to some of the listener questions. Listen, we're bringing back the listener questions this time for the first time ever on YouTube and the podcast feed. This could be an utter disaster. I don't know who I'm going to get or what's going to happen, but we want to offer a show that lets you, the listener and the supporter of the channel, to be able to comment and share your thoughts as well. Maybe you want to fade one of the guys up here. Maybe you're on something that we haven't talked about. Regardless of what it is, it's your opportunity. I put it in the YouTube link or channel there. I put it on X as well. So if you want to have something to say, make sure you come up here and do so by clicking the link there. So let's go DK features. Jim, I didn't send these to you, but they're going to be quick. They're down at the bottom, and it's just to get the guys to have an understanding. Hey, we get 3 matchups. You pick whatever side you are. Doesn't matter what the price is necessarily. We're just trying to collect how many we're going to be winning throughout the year. There's going to be punishments for the bottom 2. You're filling in for Mark here tonight, Jim. So
okay. Well,
Mark's getting your picks. Yeah, pressure's on. So Phil, how about you? I'm going to start with you first. We got the DK features down below. We got Larson versus Hamlin. You got LaJoy, who we talked about a little bit with Dylan, talked about him as well, and Busher, who we just got finished talking about, and Elliott. So what are the sides here you're going? Larson, Elliott, start with that.
Larson and Elliott. I'll go. Man, I'm on Chase to finish top 10, but I can't bet against Larson. So I think Larson could run away with it.
All right, so you're gonna go Larson there. How about Hamlin and how about LaJoy and Dillon?
I'm going LaJoy.
LaJoy, and the final one was Busher and Chase.
Which Chase?
First one was supposed to be Hamlin. That's all. So you guys, Larson versus Hamlin was the first one.
Yeah. Larson versus Hamlin. Oh, shit. I'll stick with Larson. I can't double back because if I do, then
can't double back.
Screwed either way now. Thanks. And then the last one is Chase and Busher. I'll go Chase.
Chase. Okay. What about you, Ryan?
I'm going Larson, Dillon, Busher.
Larson, Dillon, Busher, and Jim, you?
I'll go Larson, Dillon, and Chase by a hair.
Chase. I'm going to go Busher at the end. I am going to go Larson, LaJoy, because we talked about it earlier, and I'm going to go Busher. I feel like more consistency out of them with that. So, again, this gives you an opportunity if you want to get interact with the show up here. We have some time. We're going to get out of here at the top of the hour, so it really just gives you an opportunity. I know there were so many things, and while people are signing up and trying to figure it all out from that angle, I know there were a lot of drivers that we talked about. Was there anybody that you were surprised, Jim, I'm going to go to you first, that you were surprised we did not mention tonight? Maybe somebody you thought, hey, coming in, thinking I was going to hear this name, and we didn't. For me, it was Gibbs towards the end there, but what was a name maybe that we did not mention?
I'm a bit surprised we didn't talk about Noah Gragson at all, given how good he's looked the first couple of races. Very talented driver who is with a team that is way exceeding my expectations so far. So I don't show value on Gragson at any of his current markets. Not super far off, but it could be a situation where if Gragson doesn't do super well in qualifying, we can get a better number on him. I could see buying into him post qualifying. So not there yet with Gragson. I think that he's but he's on my radar for sure, should the numbers slide a bit on Saturday.
Yeah, Gragson, I think, is a good one. SHR, definitely surprising in some regard. Josh Berry was fast. Let's not forget that. At Phoenix, he was fast and obviously wrecked in qualifying, worked his way up through the field. I couldn't believe when I looked at the leaderboard, the pylon, and saw that he was already in 20th. And then obviously got shuffled back and had a rough day. But, definitely going to be interesting. I know somebody said earlier about this could be his breakout race. There's a lot of eyeballs on him. I think it's just kind of carrying whatever Harvick left behind. Ryan, was there a name or something that caught your eye of like, man, I thought we were going to talk about that and we never did?
No, I think we laid off the favorites just because they are such heavy favorites. I mean, maybe Brad Keselowski could have came up in conversation a little bit, but or Busher. I mean, we didn't really talk to Busher, I don't think, until the very end there at the head-to-head session. So I guess RFK in general, they were both very strong here. I don't know, the last time, 2 times ago, Busher won. Keselowski had the race won, got a flat tire or something. And so I don't know. They're both pretty strong. I know Greg is very high on RFK this week, amongst some other very sharp people in the industry. So, yeah, RFK, I think, is someone to look out for.
I don't have my RFK jacket on. I ripped it over the weekend, unfortunately. So maybe overly that's a good omen now that it's fixed. I just got it fixed. So hopefully it's a good omen now for this week going forward. But Phil, I want to throw something over to you. The question was asked from our guy, Rye. He was talking about Chastain and MTJ. Those are 2 drivers we did not really touch on. What's your outlook for any of them? I know Chris Perry was talking about Trackhouse versus RCR as well. When it comes to Chastain and MTJ, what's your kind of outlook on those 2 this week, if any?
So I'll be quick with MTJ. I don't know. He's an enigma to me right now. And part of me saying at the beginning of the show that I like Toyota's manufacturer bet is because of Bell, because of Hamlin, because of Reddick and Gibbs.
Yeah.
But if Truex all of a sudden shows up and owns the shit, I'm covered, right? I don't want to lose out on that and be pissed off. So that's how I'm covering for him for now. And if he looks fantastic on Saturday night, then maybe we'll throw an ad in. But Chastain, I'm kind of shying away from at the moment. Hasn't been his best track in his career. Equipment's apples to oranges a little bit, but I know the next gen Dover Bristol stats, he looked pretty good. But I'm just not in love with it. right now. So, if we're talking like a prayer and a flyer on a victory, maybe I could throw a little sprinkle on just to be safe. But like head-to-head matchups, I was like, I'm not digging anybody he's up against. And from there, kind of working my way back up to the placements, I was just like, he's not really making a case for himself in my book.
Yeah. Well, you touched on something there, and Jim, I'm curious to hear from you because you have a lot of stats, you have a lot of stuff at your fingertips. I was going to ask, like, Chastain's track record when it comes to a place like Dover. Phil said it's pretty good. That's what my assumption was. Does that agree with anything you've been looking at with him, or has he not even been on your radar?
I don't know, with Chastain, I guess it's kind of mixed. And like, that's why I'm okay not getting there, because he's 18-1. And when you look in that range, there are other guys I'd rather bet than bet Chastain and kind of like take that leap with him. Specifically Elliott at 20. Keep coming back to him. But I think I have enough question marks around the form where it's more spotty, and I can go to a guy who has a pretty good track record at Bristol overall. So I hadn't dug into him a whole lot because of that. But I think I would need him to flash a bit more to be super, super intrigued by Ross this week.
Yeah, I think Ross, it's hit or miss with him. He either really unloads fast, and then it's like, you're going to have a good number. And another thing, when we're talking about different tracks, like we're talking about last year in the late summer, different track conditions. I looked it up. The weather this Sunday is supposed to be 62, cloudy, might be some rain here and there, but 62 is the key number. And then when you look at what they raced at in the summer, it rained there as well, and the temperature difference was only 9 degrees, and it fell to get closer to what the race day is going to be. So do you weigh weather at all? Do you weigh any of that stuff of, hey, this is the track conditions from a temperature standpoint, or is that kind of level enough?
Yeah, it's not in my model. It probably should be, because that does make a difference. It's slicker track when it's warmer, stuff like that, and that's going to change the way the dynamic is. But truthfully, no, it's not in there. Probably should be, but it's not.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm trying to add things to you.
Yeah.
Give you more to do. Ryan, what about you? Do you have that stuff factored in as well? Do you have weather and all that?
Wind? No, we don't. I'll do that like
time of year
in my head. It's not a part of the model or simulations or anything like that. But again, it can race different. I think that's what I do think is different about this race. Like, if it is going to be different, a little cooler spring race, I did look at it when I, was naming some things off about Kyle Busch and even Austin Dillon. I did look at some of the spring races specifically, just to see if there was any splits, from people who have such a long history here, like Kyle Busch. Was he any better in the spring than he was in the summer? And I think just that team in general, and just kind of like the way his attitude is throughout the seasons now, as a grumpy old man, he's just, when things don't go his way, it's not good. And but early on, and even Derek Nealon, his spotter, was interviewed on like TobyChristie.com earlier today, and he even said too, like that it's not the speed, it's just the mistakes. So they're happy with their speed right now, and I liked reading that. And like I said, I like him in this package. So yeah, I don't know, don't really account for the weather, but I do like looking at the splits.
I will say this when it comes to weather, and our guy Troy, I was hoping that you'd get up here. You were one guy that in my DMs with tons of people asking when's the listener questions coming back. You were one guy that said when's coming back, so here's your opportunity. But when it comes to cooler weather, Alex Bowman shines for whatever reason. Whenever all of his wins, if you look at them, all cooler temperatured wins. It means nothing from a betting perspective. It means everything from a historical preference there. So maybe a name to keep an eye on.
Is sick.
Well, it is sick. You know what, Phil? You are absolutely right. That is sick. Yeah. So maybe I need to rethink some things. But yeah. So then let's do this. This obviously gives an opportunity for people if they want to ask questions here. But we'll kind of fade out here. Is there anything else, Phil, that you wanted to discuss at all? We got trucks coming up tomorrow where we're going to break everything down for a Friday release. Anything
I just wanted to like kind of share, like treating you guys as like my therapy couch here.
Please. That's what
I have had a guilty pleasure bet the last few weeks, and I am obsessed now. I'm obsessed. I can't stop. And it's average speed of the race. And so I have been digging into this since Daytona, like all year. And essentially it breaks down to like how many cautions is it, right? And shout out to Chris or Todd if they're still in here. Like this should be their bet to end each episode, because you're essentially, if you're taking the over faster speed, then you're hoping the race stays green, because last week we had low cautions. It crushed the over. This week the over is like 90 miles an hour, and that equals out to be about like 8 cautions. So you're like really hoping for cautions or against cautions. I think I'm going to go over. Like I'm digging the over, and kind of less cautions, in and around like 8 cautions, I think would get us the dub. So I've just been obsessed until you guys tell me like, dude, you have to stop. Like you got a real problem. I'm just going to keep doing it because it's been so fun.
What if you're our average speed guy?
I'm already
what if that's like your market, where like everybody turns to you and is like, hey Phil, I got a tip here for average speed, and then you just start moving the market down, where it's like they're changing the RPM or the miles per hour. Interesting. Yeah, that was a newer thing that came out last week, I think. I could be wrong.
It's been out all season. So and I
just saw it.
I've been betting it. But anyway, yeah, there's a comment in the chat about Sawalich, I think, in the ARCA car. Is that who we're referring to with William? He's going to be somebody we talk about tomorrow night, Derek. That's a fact.
Well, somebody even asked about ARCA. Not on my radar quite yet. Mark Crystal, front stretch, good guy to connect with there. I was just trying to see if ARCA had a race this weekend. I guess they do if it was getting brought up. Couldn't tell you what the lineup is there. And Jim, do you have anything from a numbers perspective when it comes to ARCA? Please tell me you do.
I have a way to translate ARCA.
Me.
I have a way to translate ARCA results into expectations for trucks and Xfinity and Cup. Not that we'll see a driver make the jump there. So I have a way to like translate that, but it's not predictive in any way. No, just looking backwards.
Just the fact that you have that is great. I was hoping maybe for a good bet would be ARCA breaks. How many times is that utilized in a broadcast, or how many times do we see that?
Has Jesse Love broken that model?
Yeah, is Austin Dillon in the field if we're talking about ARCA breaks here?
Jesse Love, speaking of him real quick, because Jesse going from ARCA, dominating in ARCA with William Sawalich, who you mentioned earlier, and then going directly to Xfinity, that guy's the real deal. I don't know about you guys. That guy, to me, proved it. Maybe that's who you bet on after the break, Jim. That's who the guy you target.
I feel really bad for Richard Childress and Mike Dillon, because like they're gonna have some tough decisions on their hand real fast with the way Austin Hill runs, with the way Jesse Hill's running. Got Kyle Busch there. They're going to be forced into some not so fun discussions because of those two.
It would be easier if a charter or two open up, and maybe they even switch manufacturers. Leave you with that. Phil, I'm going to kick it over to you. I'm going to let you close out the show from your vantage point. How can everybody support what you got going on and everything that you're doing?
Yeah, give me a shout on Twitter, Instagram at Full Tank Phil, and yeah, give the podcast a listen. It's Full Tank with Phil. We do the Cup Series, and we'll be doing the trucks on the NASCAR Betting Preview Show umbrella tomorrow night with you. So pretty entertaining race, and appreciate all the feedback and comments and everything. This conversation helps me feel good. This week, a little less, feeling a little, we're not in full agreement with the panel, a lot different than last week. So we'll see how things work out, but I appreciate Jim for coming on and everybody, and I hope everyone has a good weekend and St. Patrick's Day, race day.
Yeah, those are the best weeks when we're not all in agreement, but we can talk things through and help the bettors out there to kind of get dialed in. What about you, Ryan? How can everybody support what you, Win the Race, and your entire team are doing?
You can follow me on X at Win the Race P1, or go to wintherace.info, sign up. We have, I don't know, ranks, DFS, the Sim Center, pretty much anything you can imagine if you're playing DFS or betting on NASCAR, or if you just want to geek out on some, NASCAR stats. So it's been a lot of fun, great community if you jump in the Discord. So I appreciate everyone watching these. It's awesome to get the interaction, and saw the comments all throughout the show. That's awesome to see. So Jim, thank you too for coming on. It's nice to finally meet you face to face. So
absolutely.
Yeah, Jim, I know you're so busy, and appreciate your time, taking time out to join us, and everybody that came out to interact with us. So how can everybody support what you're doing and everything that you're doing through week to week?
Yeah, so we have a daily betting show called Covering the Spread, which is up on any podcast platform. But then also I do simulations for Xfinity and Truck Series. You You go to fanduel.com/research, and those go up there, win podium top 5 simulations for the entire field. So if you want to check a driver and see, it's just what my model says. Doesn't mean you have to like, you know, should bet it or whatever. But like, you know, if you want to see William Sawalich at an aggressively high number, like 4.9% for this weekend to win, you can find that at fanduel.com/research later on this week and every week there.
I love it. Awesome. Appreciate it again. And you guys can follow me at Derek Yoder _ on Twitter. Download the NASCAR Betting Preview Show podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Follow the NASCAR Betting Preview Show on X as well, at NASCAR BPS. Help our friends over here at In Between Media. Give them a subscribe. They're trying to get to 1,000 so we can do a lot of fun things, even more so on this show. That'll do it. Bristol, I'm excited. So, boys, thank you very much. And make sure you guys interact with everybody on here. So, Mark, have fun in Jacksonville.